this is my second video. Also, I want to say in my second video, since I'm looking at my email and I have all my books out and stuff, the dream of where I talk about where I'm in the neighborhood and Jesus comes down and God comes down and Jesus protects me and God has fire in his eyes and he judges the neighborhood and bombs, the neighborhood gets bombed. I also forgot to mention this, but the entire neighborhood was ash. I want to put that out there. There were no buildings. There was nothing left. It was ash. And if you look up YouTube videos or pictures of Sodom and Gomorrah, it literally looks exactly like that. So there's that. So here's the other thing I want to talk about. I fasted for about almost 20 days, or exactly 20 days. And I was, what was it? What was I doing? Hold on. Yeah, I was fasting for 20 days. And I think, in one of those days, God told me a list of things that I actually wrote down that actually are happening now. He told me, it's in here somewhere. Yeah, he told me these things. It was April 9th it was on April 9th. And this was a month ago while I was fasting. He told me that a lot of people's morals will change. People will have no choice but to believe in him. The devil is coming to collect a lot of people's souls. Something bigger than ID 2020 is coming, and that involves Bill Gates. A revolution can't be stopped. People who get left behind, this is the rapture, will kill themselves and be on a physical world of chaos, endless screaming, fire, and demons will walk the earth. And I have something else I want to talk about with that. And then he also said that if all else fails, I will create a natural disaster. Let's talk about the rapture part. I have it written in here somewhere. I have it. It's literally in here. Yes, so the people that get left behind, and this is actually inspired. I sort of made this a poem, but I'm gonna shorten it. But basically, this is the part that is important, and it was something that God wanted me to write. And it goes, but the ones who accept the beast will experience a fate worse than death. Their false idols will show their horns, their eyes will turn a pitch black, and they will cough black mucus. Images of their statues will crumble, and nations will fall, while earthquakes shape the earth. Glaciers will begin to melt, and volcanoes will usher up from the earth, and melt the bones of the wicked. Christ will judge the wicked and deliver the fatal blow of judgment. God has cast it upon them. Their temples will burn and fall, but the followers of the beast will experience judgment also, but experience one worse than death. They'll go to drink their own supply of water. It will turn brown, poison them, and for most it will run dry. They will starve with empty stomachs and result to cannibalism and become zombies, and even then they will scream, but their cries will echo and fall on deaf ears. They will be driven to insanity and experience hair loss down to the scalpel and bleed tremendously with bubbling blisters and cry. Devils will dig their graves. And that's why God doesn't want people to get left behind. Also, there's another, that's why God doesn't want people to get left behind when the rapture does happen, because even exaggerated or not, whether it happens or not, doesn't make a difference. That's what it's going to be like. And God is going to take his people, but and this is another thing, God is going to take his people before any of these natural disasters start to happen, before World War III happens, and before the Antichrist reveals himself. In the case of, and while I was also fasting, how much time do I have? While I was fasting, God told me that one of the things that stuck out to me was that God whispered in my ear, and he said that I will not let this happen to you, my children. I won't let this happen to you. And I never knew what that meant because, simple words like that, God, he says stuff like this. It's so simple, but you dwell on it and you're just like, oh my God, what does this mean? And that's what that means. Like, a rapture is going to happen. Now, whether I die before the end of this year, well, I die towards the end of this year or next year, because the president wants to come in people's houses, and the government wants to do that here in America, but that's another story. Doesn't make a difference. God isn't going to let this happen. I would talk more into this, but these videos are strictly for YouTube, and I don't know how that's going to turn out. God also told me, what else did he say? Yeah. And then he also said to me that from this point on, while I was fasting, from this point on, you can't trust the police, you can't trust the government, you can't trust the authorities, you cannot trust celebrities, and you can't trust, and that the only thing you can trust is God. Well, why can't you trust celebrities? Well, if you know the dark side of Hollywood and how people sell their souls and stuff, I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, that's what God means. And a month ago, before Cardi B blew the whistle about people saying that they had this thing that's currently going on, I'm not going to say that word to trigger an algorithm. It's ironic how when God told me that these celebrities don't have this thing, they're just using it so people can get the shot and so they can die. And from here on out, these celebrities want to drag people to hell with them because a lot of their contracts are up. Now, at that time period, a month ago, none of this unfolded, but all of this is unfolding right now into, I know I'm going everywhere, but bear with me. But to hear that and to see all this happen is insane. It's literally insane, and it's nuts. And when God says that people's morals are about to change, at the time, last month, I saw a video of a black guy, well-dressed black dude, wasn't a criminal or anything. He was getting pulled off the bus, and like 10 police officers pulled him off the bus and over a mask. And if I'm mistaken or not, I don't know if anybody saw that video, but if I'm mistaken or not, I heard a lady in the background on the bus was cheering for that. And nobody was doing anything. Nobody cared. People were heartless. That's what God meant. But to see now people's morals are going to change, now it's a whole battle of just common sense. People cherish their safety over their rights. And as of recent, I'm not going to talk about any of this stuff in this video, but as of recently, America has become communist. America wants to implement a social scoring system. America had the CDC released the guidelines for kids going back to school, which is basically a jail and prison, the way they have things set up. It's just utter chaos, and people approve of these things, and nobody cares. What else is there? And also, when God told me that the devil's coming to collect a lot of people's souls, he also told me to. He also told me, no, I was waiting for somebody big to die, because at that time period, a lot of celebrities were dropping dead like flies. But after God told me these things, a lot of celebrities started dying, started dropping like flies by the end of April. It was crazy. So there was that. And then, but as of recently, a famous celebrity died, and it proves his point. Little Richard died, and I think my friend, he's the guy that came with Tutti Frutti, I'm a Rudy, and he was, when he came out, he was part of rock and roll. And if you look up Little Richard, type in on Google or Bing or Google, type in Little Richard and the Devil, and he has a quote about him saying that he wouldn't be able to do any of his music, with the power of his music and where it comes from, it doesn't come from God, it comes from the devil. And Little Richard lived to be like 80, 70, or 80 something years old, real old, and guess what? The devil came to collect his soul. And this is facts. And he openly admits in one of his quotes, if you look it up, that he gets his power and his music from the devil, which proves my point and why God wanted me to prophesy over. He just wanted me to deliver a message that Jesus is coming and their contracts are up. And I'm not going to say who these people are, but time is almost up for these people. Another thing I want to talk about, when God says people will have no choice but to believe in me, God will not force people to believe in him. He never does that. God doesn't force people to do anything. It never has, actually, even in the Bible. Everything that's going on with the government, with this thing going on with people losing their jobs, with people coming out with rapture videos, dreams and visions, all that other stuff, it's making people believe in God and people go to God. And I think it says in the Bible, I keep hearing stuff that in the end days or the end times, people that aren't religious will become religious and they'll go to God. Don't claim that. I've just been hearing a lot of stuff. It was that. And when it says something bigger than ID 2020 is coming, God means that, well, basically, in my previous video, I talked about the Antichrist. On top of that, the government wants to come in people's houses and be Hitler. The government is also contact tracing, natural disaster, us getting bombed. That's another thing. I posted in my last video about I had a dream that America got bombed. Well, as of recently, I had another dream following up to that dream in a different area, and I think I was in New York. And basically, to sum it up, I was walking around or whatever, and I noticed that the state of New York got bombed. It was nothing but ash, like Sodom and Gomorrah, and these Christian, I guess, celebrities or whatever, they say that, oh my gosh, you're the guy that prophesied that New York City would be bombed. And it happened. It happened. It was ash. It was terrifying. So when God says that something bigger than ID 2020 is going to happen, I don't know if that means a natural disaster. I don't know if that means a bomb. I don't know if that means the mark of the beast or whatever that means, but something is coming for America. Ever since last month, I've been having this feeling that something bad is going to happen, and a lot of my Christian friends, my Christian Bible study friends, have been saying that they feel the same thing, and they feel that something is coming, but nobody knows what it is. And God also told me before I started fasting that we were three things that I don't claim this one because it hasn't came true yet. The president is supposed to be assassinated. Disney is going to go broke, and we're supposed to be going to war with China. I follow this channel called Clownfish TV, and they keep talking about how Disney is getting sued, Disney is getting loans, Disney is running out of money, the parks are closing, entertainment is down. I guess the guy who was responsible for Disney Plus, he left for TikTok. So many things around Disney are going on, and it all ends up around them not having any money and that they're broke. And Disney's one of the many corporations that own everything. So to hear that come to pass is very mind-blowing. And then there's also the fact of going to war with China. Now, this was, I think, in March or in early April. I don't know. In March, I was, what was it? I just got this feeling, and it just got whispered in my ear. I didn't have a dream or anything. And something about going to war with China, and I found out that in one of Nostradamus' predictions that the West will be overthrown by the East. And that will include, and people have been having all these dreams and these visions about going to war with Russia and China. And when I actually looked up articles about China, China is on the UN. This thing started in China. There's cell phone companies have this thing up. They have hundreds of thousands of them. Let's just say it's radiation. China has the social scoring system. China has it where neighbors snitch on each other. The government is doing that over here. China is teaming up with Russia. China is on the UN. And China was predicted by Nostradamus to overthrow the West, which is America. And I think I was on a Christian website, and they were talking about the end times and meeting up in Megiddo or Armageddon, where the three great beasts that come out, correct me on this, I'm not claiming this, correct me on this, but the three great beasts, one of them is America, obviously, because America is modern-day Babylon. And then there's Russia, and then there's China. And North Korea is going to join Russia and China because North Korea hates us. And whoever gets caught in the midst of all this gets caught in the midst, and that's World War III. So it blew my mind when it says something about going to war with China, because people will arrogantly say that we'll destroy China. But China is a very dangerous country. I've been realizing that. There's that. And as far as the president being assassinated, I don't claim this. I don't wish any harm on the president. I think one of Nostradamus, I was doing research. I'm not going to say what it is. There's a game that has a card. Look up a card on the internet called. Type in on Google or Bing, "Enough is Enough" card game, and you'll see it, and it says something. Then there's one of Nostradamus' predictions again, or he might be off or not. But it's funny how And one of Nostradamus' predictions that he predicts that the president gets assassinated, which is very eye-opening. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But I thought that was interesting. But I don't know if it'll happen. I don't know. I don't claim it. I also had a dream about the president being assassinated on TV while I was in one of those old movie diners like the one in Legion. I don't claim that. Not yet. If it doesn't come true, it doesn't come true. But everything that God has told me has come true. And as far as the whole natural disaster part goes, I had a dream. It's also in here. I have it. It is. It's in my spiritual diary. Yeah, it happened in 2016 on Friday or Saturday. On January the 8th or 9th, which is a Friday or Saturday in 2016, and I prayed to God on this day, and I said, what's in store for America? This is 4 years ago, and I basically what I saw was a giant tsunami with the four horsemen of the apocalypse coming out of the tsunami. I saw two horsemen of the apocalypse riding their horses alongside or in front of the tsunami that's coming. They were war and famine. And war, during that time period when Donald Trump, I think, was getting elected, or he was president already, we were already at war with each other. We went to war with each other, and North Korea declared war on us. Eventually. Then famine, which shortly popped up after war. There was like food shortages going on in South America or across the world. Then, and it's funny too, because ironically, a plague of locusts popped up in Africa recently, this year or last year, and that's a biblical plague from God. Shortage in food. Then there was, there's war, famine, pestilence, and conquest. Crap. But the other two were pestilence and conquest. You know, conquest. People say conquest represents the is pestilence. Well, whatever. Point in case is that now, this was in 2016, that now the final horseman is here, and that horseman is the Antichrist. He's always been here. It's just a matter of time before he shows himself. And or this thing that went global and conquered basically every nation. Which is very eye-opening. And as far as the tsunami goes, in 2016, I kept having tsunami dreams. And then guess what? People are having dreams of New York being flooded and New York being bombed. I don't even stay in New York, I stay in Georgia. And on top of that, the sun is in a certain phase now, and it's coming, and God is going to create natural disasters, and he's going to rapture his people before this happens, because when this happens, it will wipe out the entire East Coast of America. And the sun is in a certain phase. I don't know if it's lockdown or whatever it is. It's in a certain phase where it can cause famines, harsh winters, or make the weather colder, and it can cause earthquakes. I watched a video a couple days ago. I think it was last week. If there's a powerful enough earthquake, that earthquake can create a mega tsunami. Which, if you watch 2012 or other movies, it will wipe out the entire East Coast. If not that, I saw a video yesterday, and this video said something about Russia or China having a bomb that can create mega tsunamis. like, and it's not a coincidence. This is not a coincidence. And then there was, what else was there? And then there was also, in terms of natural disaster, what I said, the prophecy, if all else fails, I'll create a natural disaster, which is going to happen, and there is no making up God's mind. I watched a video of a guy saying that he had, he saw a straight row of earthquakes happening in the middle of America. And you know what else is in the middle of America? Yellowstone Park. Yellowstone Park is one of the biggest volcanoes in America, or in the world, I think. I don't know. I'm not a volcano person. But I did the math, and I took the picture he had, and I took the picture of what would happen if the Yellowstone Park volcano exploded with a big enough earthquake. And it turns out, if it explodes, it will take out almost 30 states. It takes out 20-something states. I think it's 20, 21, or 22, but that's almost 30 states alone. And that's it. That just shows that natural disasters are coming, because now the sun is in a phase where, not ironically, where God is done. God is done with the wickedness in this world. And then there's the meteorite that's supposed to be coming to Earth, but I don't worry about that. I won't be here. Then there's God is done. God is done with the wickedness of these people that are controlling the world. God is done with he's just done. And the battle between God and the devil has to be finished. And if you know how this ends, God wins. Jesus wins. And his people are shown the New Jerusalem and the New Heaven and all that good stuff. And you know what? All I have to say is that if you don't know God, whatever grudge you have against God or Jesus, you need to drop it, because this is important. You don't want to be stuck here. You don't want to be stuck here when the Yellowstone Park volcano erupts, when a mega tsunami hits the east coast of America, when tornadoes and hurricanes start affecting this country and natural disasters start happening. So if this has affected you, this has changed you, I would say all you have to say is get on your knees, confess your sins, repent, and all you have to say is, I accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and that's it. You know, there's more to that, but that's it. And you have to mean it. God sees through people's, excuse me for cussing, bullshit, but, you know, God knows. So just mean what you say, you'll be saved. Read the Bible, and don't take the mark of the beast. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's nanotechnology. So yeah, I'm done. I have said what I've wanted to say. God has wanted me to say this. I am done. And other than that, yeah. So yeah, I hope y'all have a blessed day. Be safe. Go to God. And just know that life as you know it is not going to... Well, I can't be negative on that part, but life as you know it will never be the same. So yeah, have a blessed day.